It all started on an afternoon so deceptively ordinary that no one in the sprawling glass mansion could have predicted the scandal that was about to unfold, the kind of scandal that would split newspapers across continents, fill gossip columns for months, and drive a wedge into the most powerful family in the city, a family whose billion-dollar empire stretched from New York to London, and whose matriarch carried herself like royalty, the kind of woman who had never in her life been told no. The kind of woman who could end careers with a single call, a single sneer, or even a single look of disdain. That woman was Margaret Harrington, mother of Alexander Harrington, the young billionaire who had been plastered across Forbes and Time magazine covers before he turned 30, a man whose business genius was rivaled only by his quiet rebellion against the very traditions his mother tried so desperately to keep alive. And in this mansion, where the chandeliers sparkled like constellations and the floors gleamed as though they'd never known a scuff, walked another figure who had no business, at least in Margaret's mind, being anywhere near their family, a young black maid named Amara, who had been hired only a few weeks prior, recommended through an agency but quickly proving herself indispensable to Alexander, not because of her ability to fold linens or polish crystal, but because she carried herself with a quiet dignity, a sharpness of mind, and an honesty that seemed alien in the circles of excess the Harringtons called their world. Margaret hated her on sight. Not because Amara had done anything wrong, but because Margaret's world was built on invisible rules, rules that told her who was worthy of respect, who was worthy of compassion, and who was worthy of being stepped on. And Amara, with her sharp eyes and unshakable poise, was the kind of presence that threatened the hierarchy Margaret had spent her entire life enforcing. And so, on that afternoon, when Alexander arrived home earlier than expected, loosening his tie after a day of negotiating billion-dollar contracts, Margaret decided it was time to make a point so cruel, so unnecessary, that not even she could have predicted how it would spiral into chaos, betrayal, and revelations that would shatter everything. She intercepted Amara in the main hall, her eyes narrowing at the sight of the crisp uniform the girl wore, freshly laundered, modest, but somehow carrying a grace that Margaret herself could not tolerate. With a sneer twisting her lips, Margaret stepped forward, fingers like talons, and in one swift motion she seized the fabric at Amara's shoulder and ripped, the sound of tearing cloth echoing louder than thunder in the cavernous hall. "This," Margaret hissed, "is what you are. Nothing more than fabric and dust." But what she had not expected was the silence that followed, not Amara's silence, but Alexander's, who had walked in just in time to see the fabric tears and his mother. What followed that explosive moment in the grand hall